All right. You know what you clicked on, so let's just do it. Movies of 2014. I want to start off with some documentaries that came out in 2014. Slash documentary Raised on the Sunset Strip. It's kind of interesting. There was a Star Trek documentary called Chaos on the Bridge, talking about how crazy Gene Roddenberry was when they were making the Star Trek movies and TV shows. There was a documentary called Life Itself, which was I found out when I was doing research for these movies, and I kept finding all that Roger Ebert, and Siskel and Ebert, that's who it is. There was a documentary about Roger Ebert's life called Life Itself. In the research for the 80s movies, because Dune came out in 1984, I came across a documentary called Jodorowsky's Dune, which is the story, crazy story of the director. I can't remember his first name. Jodorowsky was going to make Dune in the 70s, and he was going to have Mick Jagger and Orson Welles and this book, I guess, that's been going around, that was passed around Hollywood for 20 years, and everybody kept trying to get a shot at making this movie. And there's this book with all of the artwork and all of the things that he had worked out over years, reworking the story and reworking the art and everything. And it's really fascinating. That movie would have been crazy. The original Dune was pretty crazy, but nothing like what the original was supposed to be. There was a Edward Snowden documentary called Citizen 4. I watched some of. I'm going to finish it because it'll anchor you about the way the government and blah all that stuff. There was another documentary I found called Mirage Man. I started watching it, but it ended up just being a generic alien type of thing, and I just wasn't interested. And last but not least, there was a Britney Spears documentary called Workin' It. It was kind of just a light take on her career and stuff. All of the crazy, terrible things that happened to her hadn't quite happened yet. So it was a lot lighter in tone. Anyway, let's get into the real movies. There's always a few movies that I find that don't make the highest grossing list, so I always talk about them first. The Interview, which probably would have been a huge movie because James Franco and Seth Rogen were huge at that time, but they never officially released it because of threats from North Korean government, threats on their lives and the filmmakers' lives, and it's so stupid. But the movie itself is brilliant. They're supposed to go and interview Kim Jong-un and assassinate him, and they end up making friends with him, and they just, I don't know, it's hilarious. You need to look for that movie. Taika Waititi, I always mess up his name. I hope I said that right. Taika Waititi, first movie, What We Do in the Shadows, was released in 2014, and it ended up spawning a TV show. The TV show is brilliant. The movie is freaking amazing. It's so funny, and it's so in depth about the lore and it's basically the real world with vampires So good, so good. There was a movie called Alan Partridge, which was a character that Steve Coogan created, and he did on several TV shows and different things, but they finally made a movie, and he's basically, this character is a DJ, and they have to fire somebody, and it's Cole Meany is the employee that they have to fire, and he ends up coming back and holding them hostage, and hijinks ensue. It's a really fun movie. It's free on YouTube right now. Snowpiercer spawned a great series. My dad's been watching it, and it really sucks you in. The whole ecosystem of the train and everything is amazing, but the movie was really good. It was kind of Chris Evans's first trying to break out of the Captain America role, and there's so many good people in that movie. I can't even go into how many Tilda Swinton, Sean Bean, I can't even remember all the people that are in it, but it's really good. It's a little dystopian, so a little dark, so don't expect a light, fluffy movie out of that one. I found a crazy movie on YouTube for free called Frank, which it's Michael Fassbender plays Frank, and he's this musical creative genius that people sort of flock to, but he wears this big paper mache head with a face on it, and nobody's ever seen him without this head on. And all of the side characters, his band, each either drives him crazy, he sucks him in because of he's such a genius, but he reflects on them. I don't even know how to put it into words. He reflects on them, his genius, so much that they realize how untalented they actually are in comparison to him. And several people kill themselves, or you either kill yourself or go crazy whenever you spend too much time with him. And the only other person I can think of that's of name that was in that movie is Maggie Gyllenhaal, and she plays the keyboard player, and she's such a raging bitch in this movie. It's so good. Frank was so good. It's one of the first movies in 10 or 20 years that I've watched more than once. So amazing. Moving on. I found a weird movie called The Identical, which is sort of this reimagined story of when Elvis was born. If you know, Elvis was born and he had a twin that died at birth. And this is like sort of a alternate reality where one of the kids, they didn't die, but one of them is adopted because the parents are poor and they want him to have a better life. And he grows up, and one of them becomes Elvis, basically. And then the other one is like, hey, that was supposed to be my life. And I don't know, it's really weird. I don't think I watched the whole thing, but it was an interesting idea for a movie. A horror movie called It Follows, which was visually kind of interesting, but so stupid. It was so stupid. Basically, the demons come to get you, and you're the only person that can see the person coming to get you and kill you. And the only way to get rid of it is to have sex with somebody else, and then it follows them. But once it kills them, then it comes back for you. So you have to, it's like, I don't know. It was kind of dumb. I watch more of that than I care to admit. There was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reboot in 2014 where they basically went back to the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Was kind of dark and more gritty, and they spruced it all up and Disneyfied it for the cartoon and the first series of movies in the 80s. And then now they've went back to the original dark and gritty version. Whatever, have no time for it. Odd Thomas was kind of a generic horror type of thriller movie. Anton Yelchin, rest in peace. He would have been a huge star if he hadn't died. He was so good. The only thing interesting about the Odd Thomas movie is him as Odd Thomas can talk to the dead and they can tell him who killed him or whatever. But the monsters that come around, only a few people can see them. And if they know that you can see them, they'll kill you. But they come around when death is around, and he can see the monsters and he can talk to the dead people. And really kind of a interesting movie. The cop that's friends with him is Willem Dafoe, who, remember that name for your actor bingo card. He will pop up a lot, especially in the years ending in 84, 94, and 2004. There was a Jimi Hendrix movie called All Is By My Side. And when Outkast first came out, I thought Andre 3000 would be the perfect person, looks-wise and vibe-wise, to play Jimi Hendrix. And finally he did. Imogen Poots is an actress that pops up in a lot of movie type of, a lot of music type of movies. She's in that show, The Roadies, that I either have or I will talk about eventually. She's in a movie about Jeff Buckley. She's in this Jimi Hendrix movie. She's in a lot of other movies too, but she seems to pop up in a lot of music-based movies too. The bad thing about this Jimi Hendrix movie is that they weren't allowed to use any actual Jimi Hendrix music. So they got around it by, they either wrote some stuff, Waddy Wachtel, session guitar player that played with Stevie Nicks and a bunch of other people through the 70s and 80s, wrote a lot of music that sounds like Jimi Hendrix music, and they used some Bob Dylan music because Jimi Hendrix was a huge Bob Dylan fan, and they worked around it pretty good, and they used a lot of cover songs that Jimi Hendrix played and stuff, but it just wasn't quite the same without any of the Jimi Hendrix movie music. Moving into the actual list, interesting movies that I found were at 182, you have Big Eyes, which is a true story of the painter. You've seen the paintings. They're the paintings of the little innocent kids and stuff, and they all have big, huge eyes. And it turned out that his wife came out and said she was the one that painted all of those. And they went to court, and in court, they basically set up two canvases and they said, okay, you both paint your Big Eyes paintings. And he wasn't able to do it, and she was, so she won. Really good movie. I think I saw that. I either saw that on Pluto or on YouTube. And Amy Adams and Christoph Waltz, they're both amazing actors. Then we jump all the way down to 134. You have Nightcrawler, which is a movie I'd never heard of. Jake Gyllenhaal And everybody I've talked to about it has said that this movie is freaking amazing. And Jake Gyllenhaal is creepy as shit. And I kind of want to see it. It's looks pretty dark and scary. They also have Bill Paxton, rest in peace, for your actor bingo card. He pops up all over years ending in 4. 131, we have Boyhood, which is that Richard Linklater? I'm pretty sure it's Richard Linklater. Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette play the parents. I don't think The Boy has ever done anything since then that I know of, but such a good movie. I love these slice of life movies, and usually a slice of life movie is a slice of life. And this one took him 10, 12 years. I can't remember exactly how long it took him to film it, because they literally film it from the time that he was a boy until the time he went away to college. And so they would film a few scenes, and then a few years later they would film some more scenes, and a few years later they would film a few more scenes. So the kids literally grow up in this movie, and it's just, it really, really sucks you in. Next up we got 129, Whiplash. And J.K. Simmons is such a badass in this movie. He's such a prick. As a musician, I go back and forth on the influence of this movie. I can make a whole video. I won't go into it too hard, but Miles Teller, I think it was his first big movie, and he is amazing in it. But it really just shows you the dark side of obsession. Not necessarily with music, but I mean, the movie is specifically about music, but it's basically about obsession. And, you know, I don't know if it's healthy or not. I think it's great. I think like he goes into in the movie, it's, I don't know. The philosophy of it is really deep. I could make a whole video about that. I might actually do that, because the balance, that's what you gotta look at. I mean, is it worth your life to obsess about something that heavy? I don't know. I love that movie either way. And we jump all the way down to 101. We got Brick Mansions. And I wasn't really aware that I had seen that movie when I was going through the list, but then after I looked it up, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that movie. It's pretty interesting. It's Paul Walker. It's kind of just an action movie. I don't know if they're gangsters or something. They're smuggling missiles or bombs or something. I don't remember. There's plot holes big enough to drive a truck through, but it's a fun movie to watch if you just want a popcorn movie. Number 90, we have The Judge, which is Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. does his normal thing. I don't know if they write parts for him to do that or if he works out stuff with the director, but he does that Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man thing where he just talks fast and can talk you into circles, and just, it's a pretty good movie. The basic story, I don't remember if the judge dies. I haven't seen it for a long time, but his dad is the judge. His dad is Robert Duvall, and he either is dementia or something. He has to go, or he dies. I think he dies. I think he's only in it in flashbacks or something. But he has to go back to, basically it's the guy that's been living in the big city, and he's a big shot in the big city, and he has to go back to his hometown, and he encounters all of the people that he grew up with, and sees how he changed, and sees how, you know, how he lost his roots, and yada, yada, yada. But I like it. I love Robert Downey Jr., so I really like that movie. Then we got John Wick, which is just gun porn. I have no use for it. Moving on. 87, A Million Ways to Die in the West. Seth MacFarlane tried to make a Western, and it's pretty funny. There's his rant about all of the ways that things can kill you in the Old West is hilarious. What's his name? Giovanni Ribisi is really funny in it. And he was smart enough to get actors like Liam Neeson and Charlize Theron. So it's a pretty good movie. I always thought that kind of tanked, but made it to number 87, biggest movie of 2014. So I guess it didn't do that bad, but 77, Tammy, Melissa McCarthy doing the same thing she does in every movie. I have no use for it. 73, Birdman. What a great movie. They made this movie out to look like it was all one continuous shot. And Michael Keaton is kind of Michael Keaton's comeback movie. And it's amazing him playing just the meta aspect of him playing a washed up actor that played a superhero. Super great movie. I thought it did better than that, but number 70, Horrible Bosses 2. I don't know if it's as good as the first Horrible Bosses, but I thought that movie was hilarious and over the top. I love anything with Jason Bateman in it. Charlie Day is always funny. I think it's his first shot on the big screen, maybe. I think he's in Pacific Rim too, but I think that was a little later. Jason Sudeikis, that was the third guy. I don't know if any of the bosses came back for the second movie. I don't even know what the plot is. I may or may not have seen it, but love the first one so much. I would definitely give the second one a shot. 63, Theory of Everything. That's the story of Stephen Hawking and what's his name? Eddie Redmayne. Such a good actor. He looks exactly like Stephen Hawking. I've never seen this movie, but I heard it's really good. I would like to see it. 53, we got Monuments Men. I think that's the one with John Goodman and George Clooney and a bunch of other people. They were tasked with saving all of the monuments throughout Europe when Hitler was just going around destroying everything. I've seen part of it. It's really good. 49, Grand Budapest Hotel. It's probably one of Wes Anderson's most convoluted movies. Usually he keeps his stories real focused. This one is spread out over several different storylines and different time periods and stuff, but super, super brilliant movie. Adrian Brody obviously is always in Wes Anderson movies, and Ralph Fiennes. What a good movie. What a good movie. 44, Equalizer. I didn't think I would like this one because I'm so tired of the badass cop genre, badass kick-ass guy. But Denzel Washington is such an amazing badass. And he does the thing where he sets his watch for like 80 seconds and then just kills everybody in the room before his watch goes off. So good. So good. 36, Imitation Game. Another period movie. What's his name? Zarder Gumberbatch plays, what's his name? Charles Turing? Something Turing, where they have to decipher the codes that the Enigma machine and all that stuff. Hitler's codes. Why was there a lot of Hitler? Wasn't a lot of World War II movies in 2014? It's weird. But I've seen that movie. It kind of shows how much of a genius he was, and he was kind of a loner because he just didn't relate to anybody. He was such a super genius that I think he was kind of a sociopath, psychopath, actually. 35, we have the remake of RoboCop. No use for it. RoboCop is a perfect movie from the 80s. Well, I don't know why they decided to reboot that. 31, Neighbors, Seth Rogen, Zac Efron, and Rose Byrne. Super, super funny movie. I found that one for free on YouTube also, and I'd never seen it, so I watched it recently, and I was just going to skim through it just because I knew it was on this list, but I ended up watching the whole thing because it's pretty over the top. So hilarious. 29, Paddington. Now, this is not in my wheelhouse at all. I think it's a family movie, and it's kind of slow and kind of gentle. But some of the things that I've read about it, people are saying that the Paddington and Paddington 2 are some of the best movies ever made. So someday I might actually give it a shot. You might try it. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it if you've seen it. 28, Divergent. There's a whole series. I think it was a book series, a young adult book series. To me, it's basically the Hunger Games. No use for it. I saw the first one and it was okay, but whatever. We got 22 Jump Street, which is the sequel to 21 Jump Street, and I've never seen it, but Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum made a really, really good buddy cop. It's super funny. The first one is super funny, so if this one is any, just like with the Horrible Bosses, if this one is just as good as the first one, I would definitely give it a shot. Ice Cube as their captain cracks me up. 25, we have 300, Rise of an Empire. Once again, I've never seen the sequel, but the first one is amazing, so it's kind of Zack Snyder. I'm pretty sure Zack Snyder would have done the sequel too, but before he got really roped up into all of these were kind of his vanity slash demo for him getting to be a part of the superhero franchises. 24, Maze Runner, another one I thought was kind of boring when I saw it. It's another Hunger Games type of movie. 23, Noah. I think it was Ridley Scott that directed that one. Russell Crowe. I don't know. If it's Ridley Scott, I'd probably give it a shot. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. I'm kind of over Russell Crowe, but I heard it was decent. 22, I have Night at the Museum. I'm pretty sure that that's a sequel. The original Night at the Museum is so funny and so good. I usually am not a big fan of Ben Stiller movies, but this one, once again, if the sequel is any good compared to the first one, then I would definitely give it a shot. Robin Williams, I think, steals these movies. Steve Coogan's in them as the little Roman centurion. And 21, we have Gone Girl, which I haven't seen. It looks disturbing. What's her name? Blah, 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 blah. Totally spaced on her name. Not a big Ben Affleck fan, but it's brand new, free on YouTube also, so I put it on my list. I'll be watching that one pretty soon. Number 20, we have Edge of Tomorrow, which I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, and got Emily Blunt. I like her a lot. Once again, we have Bill Paxton. One of the last films he made before he died, I think. So mark that on your actor bingo card. It's kind of a sci-fi Groundhog Day type of thing. He keeps dying and he has to figure out what to do to not die to get to the next. It's like, I feel like it's a movie version of a video game, and not a huge fan of super futuristic sci-fi dystopian type of stuff anyway, so I'll pass on that one. 18, we have Lucy. One of the first kickoff of Scarlett Johansson being badass in a movie. She did a whole string of those, and then every other top actress in Hollywood had to get her chance to make her I'm a Badass movie. And I liked it. I liked some of the premise of expanding the drug, kind of a limitless drug that expands your mental capacity to use more of your brain. The whole idea of we only use 10% of our brain capacity has been debunked, and it's just a movie trope that's been used over and over again. So that part's kind of dumb. There's some other dumb plot holes in this movie. I've watched some videos on YouTube about all of the plot holes in this movie, and if you can look past that, it's fun, it's action, and yada yada yada. Next we have the Lego Movie, which I thought was a kid's movie when I first watched it, but by the time you get to the end and they bring all of the premises together and all the worlds together, the Lego Movie, I have to say, is one of the best movies of the last 10 years. That's all I gotta say about that. Number 14, we have the Godzilla remake. Why? Number 11, we have Big Hero 6. And I've seen part of it. I'm kind of over the whole Pixar, Disney thing. But I've heard that movie's kind of fun and kind of heartwarming. And so that's your thing. Watch it. If not, just join me and ignore it. Number 10, Interstellar. Now, I wanted to hate this one as much as Edge of Tomorrow, but I just couldn't. The depth of there's some plot holes. It's kind of dumb in certain aspects, but the science is pretty bulletproof. They really went in depth about the whole, the time travel thing is a little weird, but it all kind of comes together, and there's some emotional parts that I can't watch again. That's when he's in the thing and Murph. Oh, it's just gut wrenching. Oh, what a good movie. Matthew McConaughey is an amazing actor anyway, but Interstellar, man, that changed my mind. That changed my mind about, I thought that movie was going to be terrible. That's what I meant. Not change my mind about Matthew McConaughey. Number 9, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Why? I thought, I don't mind that they rebooted Spider-Man for the Marvel movies, but the original Spider-Mans were just fine. Tobey Maguire was just fine. Obviously, everybody kind of caps on the third one. It was kind of dumb. They kind of jumped the shark on the third one, but I don't know. I've never seen the Amazing Spider-Man series with Andrew Garfield. I think he's an okay actor. I first saw him in Social Network. But why? Why reboot Star Wars? Why reboot Spider-Man? And especially if you're just going to bring them back again for the Marvel movies. It just makes no sense to me. Just seems like a money grab to me. So I'll pass. Another one I'll pass on is number 8, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I get that technology and CGI had advanced to the point where they thought they could make the Planet of the Apes movie again, and I really appreciate Andy Serkis. Is that his name? That does all of the Gollum type of characters. And it's funny that they always get him. He's just kind of became the guy for whenever they're gonna spot CGI a character over your acting. But no use for it. Number 7, I almost said Captain Planet. Captain Wonderful, Captain Marvel. What's his fucking name? Chris Evans from Captain of the Universe. Captain frickin' Marvel movies. Basically, it's Winter Soldier. Not sure I ever saw it. I've only seen 3 or 4 of the Marvel movies. They just all seem to be the same thing to me. Captain America. Duh, I'm a dumbass. Number 6, X-Men Days of Future Past. Ditto. I'm done. I've seen the first series of X-Men movies. I get it that they say that this one is the best one so far, and of all of the trilogy, of all of the series, but I don't know. I just don't care. Number 5, Hunger Games. No wonder there's so many Hunger Game wannabes that came out. We're obviously on our, I didn't write down 1 or 2, but this is the Mockingjay, so it's either the end of the series or the first one of the end of the series. They kind of did the Hunger Games, or the Harry Potter thing, where they broke the last one up into 2 movies so they can get twice as much money out of it. But whatever, I'm over it. Number 4, Maleficent. Now, in the age of reboots and rehashes and Marvel movies and comic book movies and franchises, this movie was freaking amazing. Looking at the Snow White story from the other side is just brilliant. Angelina Jolie is so good in this movie. There's so many things about this movie that were so good. Oh, I just can't get over it. I'm glad that one was so big. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. That has to probably be my favorite Marvel movie. Chris Pratt is amazing. All of the whole crew is amazing. The story is really good. The acting, it's really funny. The acting is really good. I don't think I've seen any other ones besides the first one. My 3 favorite Marvel movies are Iron Man, Ragnarok, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2, once again, I could say the same thing all over again. Hobbit. I don't even know which one it was because they all sucked. Lord of the Rings was one of the best movie franchises ever. And when they decided to do the Hobbit series, I feel like they cut so many corners. The CGI is awful. The stories barely follow what they're supposed to. They took one book and spread it out over 3 4-hour movies, and it was just so unnecessary. Just stick to the Lord of the Rings. The number 1 movie of 2014 was Transformers: Age of Extinction. And I could say all of the same things that I said about all of these other movies. Why? Let it rest. You just it's just cash grab. Hey, you want to make $1 billion this summer? Let's make another Transformers movie. Shia LaBeouf in the first few, and fuck, I'm just spacing on people. I don't know. I'm just spacing on people's names, but whatever. I have no use for it. And then when they got fucking Mark Wahlberg to be in them, I'm not even sure if this is a Shia LaBeouf or a Mark Wahlberg movie, but I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over. There was such good movies that came out in this year, but the franchises and remakes and sequels and all of that, I hope that age of Hollywood is coming to an end. I think they're starting to realize that spending $500 million on a movie that might not make it back. Movies this year have been, last 2 or 3 years actually, have been tanking so bad, and hopefully we'll go back to an age where people are making good mid-range movies, original material, and use some good actors, and I don't know. That's just what I hope for. But anyway, that's the movies of 2014. Check you later.